Good afternoon. Again, my name is Morgan Wright, and I'd first like to thank all of you for joining us. For those of you not familiar with the Loan Programs Office or the ATVM program, I'd first like to give you just a little background and a quick update on our current status. The LPO manages two federal lending programs, the Title 17 Renewable Energy Program and the ATVM Advanced Vehicle Technology Manufacturing Program. Today, we're obviously here to talk about the ATVM program. At its core, the program was established to drive domestic manufacturing of advanced vehicles and components that significantly reduce greenhouse gases, which ultimately can help create jobs here in the United States and also increase our energy independence. The program has been incredibly successful to date. We've invested about $8.4 billion, are supporting over 40,000 jobs across the projects that we've supported. But most importantly, and I think the most important message and why we're here today, is we are very much still open for business. We have nearly $16 billion in lending authority remaining, and we are actively seeking new applications. Part of what we'll do here today is walk you through what it takes to have a successful application. Keep in mind, as you hear some of those elements, we are going to evaluate each project solely on its own merits, and we do take our stewardship of taxpayer monies very, very seriously. Having said that, we do work diligently with all of our applicants to try to find a path forward, and we are constantly looking for ways to improve our processes to make it easier for you. One way we've done that is the online application portal. The portal was developed in the summer of 2010 for the Title 17 program. It has taken several dozen successful applications for that program and has won numerous technical awards for streamlining government operations. In fact, in the Title 17 program, it reduced our evaluation times of projects by over 80%. We know from feedback from applicants that it also reduced their time to pull their applications together as well. We did recently upgrade the portal to take ATVM applications, and so the question is, what does that mean for you? The portal is highly secure, adds very clear transparency to our application process, and it standardizes responses across applications. What that does is that allows us to more efficiently process applications and get back to applicants. It is simple, it is fast, it is intuitive, it is very easy to upload supporting documentation, and we've also designed it to provide real-time feedback to help guide applicants and assist them in crafting their applications. You can access the application very simply by going to our main website at loanprograms.energy.gov and clicking the Apply button in the upper right-hand corner. And with that, I'd like to turn you over to my colleague, Jason Gerbsman, who will walk you through eligibility, our process, and elements of a strong application.
Thank you, Morgan. I would like to walk you through some of the eligibility requirements for this program. This program is open to vehicle and component manufacturers whose proposed projects meet the requirements laid out in the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007, as well as the interim final rule which was developed at DOE. This includes all vehicle projects that meet the 125% fuel efficiency improvement test over the base year of 2005 CAFE standards, and also may include ultra-efficient vehicles with an enclosed passenger compartment that achieve miles per gallon equivalent of 75 miles per gallon or better. In the case of components, project outputs must be manufactured and installed in one of these vehicles, meaning an advanced technology vehicle or an ultra-efficient vehicle. All projects which are eligible for funding under the ATVM loan program may include as eligible costs engineering integration towards the readying of the product for manufacture, facility construction, and the re-equipping or retooling of existing facilities in the United States for the manufacture of a qualifying vehicle or component. In terms of an application, we do have specific requirements that are laid out by the interim final rule. I'd like to walk you through a couple of the highlights of these requirements so you have a better idea as to what might be required for your application when perusing the online application portal and entering your data. The general requirements of the program's application include various representations and certifications regarding the eligibility of an applicant and the project, a disclosure of lobbying activities, as well as wage rates to be paid under the project. Our technical requirements include a detailed explanation of how a project qualifies as well as a simulation output from a generally accepted model, such as a PSAT model, for example, in the case of a vehicle platform, to show the projected fuel economy. Financial requirements include a detailed financial and business plan, estimates of project costs, historical financial statements, a pro forma financial model, and additional analyses that support a finding of financial viability. For our environmental requirements, the application should include a listing of permits or licenses required and applied for, the identification of a specific site or a number of potential sites, as well as any other information that may help us to comply with the National Environmental Policy Act. In the case of the application, more is better. We prefer to receive as much detailed information as we can in order to better evaluate the applicability of this program to the projects applied for. Our application and evaluation process is a 5-stage process. Once an application is received, we screen it for substantial completeness. The completeness of an application is important for us to move on with stage 2 of an applicant eligibility determination. The applicant eligibility determination allows us to confirm technical eligibility through the work of our technical support staff, as well as the financial eligibility and financial viability of the project and the applicant themselves by the origination staff at ATVM. Stage 3 is the evaluation, underwriting, and recommendation process. This is usually the most lengthy portion of the process, but it is a very interactive process which aims for openness and transparency in its coordination and working with the applicants to move the process forward. That evaluation is extremely thorough and includes a number of different types of due diligence: financial, credit risk, technical, legal, market analysis, and NEPA compliance will all lead us to evaluate the application and lead to an investment recommendation. Assuming a project meets all of the necessary criteria and is recommended to move forward, we then enter stage 4 of negotiation and closing of a loan. The negotiation of a conditional commitment includes the building out of a set of key business terms and the drafting of a conditional commitment letter, which allows the government to safeguard taxpayer resources and yet also obligates funding for the loan at that time. Once the conditional commitment is approved through our interagency approvals process, we would move into the negotiation of final loan documentation, which is in effect papering the deal with the final loan documents in preparation for a closing. Once the loan has closed, pending approval, we would proceed to the funding phase, where the funding of the project would be basically following the schedule that was agreed to in the negotiation. The final phase of an ATVM loan enters portfolio monitoring. All projects will be monitored on 2 levels: project and technical monitoring to ensure the completion of certain milestones to be agreed upon in the negotiation process, as well as credit and risk monitoring on an ongoing basis to ensure prospect of repayment of the loan to the DOE. On this slide, you see a number of characteristics of what would be considered a strong application to the ATVM loan program. I'd like to take a few moments to highlight just a few of these, and certainly am willing to entertain any questions after the presentation with regard to others. I would draw your attention to the requirement of significant equity funding. The ATVM loan program often requires significant equity funding well in excess of the minimum 20% called for by the program's documents. As a senior secured lender, the DOE needs to ensure enough liquidity to run the operations of the business as well as to fund all ineligible costs for the project. Customer agreements in place is another aspect of a strong application. For a project, or alternatively for a previous project, outputs of those projects will demonstrate market execution risk and the availability of market demand for the product. And therefore, any customer agreements for an advanced technology vehicle, an advanced technology component, or including previous platforms that can demonstrate experience and execution on a project are very important to the program. We also require significant collateral. Collateral is very important to secure the DOE's position and protect taxpayer interests. In addition to our mandated collateral, funding the collateral which stands as first lien priority of all ATVM assets, we oftentimes request additional credit enhancements, either in the form of additional hard assets pledged to support the loan or affiliate support agreements. And finally, I'd like to highlight the strength of an experienced leadership or staff. Experienced leadership or management team with proven skills and a track record of running similar companies and executing on similar projects is very important for the ATVM program. And we would encourage all applicants to highlight that experience in their application process.
And now we will open the floor for questions. If you just type the question in the box provided, we will take a look at those and answer them as best as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to make clear, the webinar recording and the slides will be made available from the DOE LPO website later today.
Okay. We have a question about the standard timeline for a loan application process. Thank you very much for that question. It's a very important question. Every project is different. It's important to remember that the review process can include complex negotiations that require, in some cases, several exchanges of information and revisions from all parties involved, including business plan changes, which oftentimes take additional time to review. The more complete an application is, of course, the shorter the review process can be, and we are absolutely committed to working in an open and transparent fashion with our applicants in order to streamline that process.
We have another question on the typical rates of interest for these projects. The rates of interest are actually set by the Department of Treasury. There is a small additional fee added to those interest rates at the time the transaction is closed, but they are typically set very close to the rates the Treasury sets for T-bills of a similar tenured instrument.
We have a question about natural gas vehicles and their eligibility for the program. Natural gas vehicles, assuming they meet the criteria of fuel efficiency standards, are indeed covered by the ATVM loan program, and we entertain any type of technology that meets those criteria, including natural gas. In fact, we have a current recipient of a DOE loan who has been producing a natural gas vehicle. We have another question regarding assets, funding assets required for readying a product for sale, including paint shop, etc. Those, in fact, are eligible costs, assuming that they are related to the manufacture of an advanced technology vehicle. I think part of the issue that we would have in answering that question today is really that we would need to review it in greater detail and get back to you on the specifics of that. As I mentioned, each application is different, and so therefore we would need to review the project costs and the intention of the project before giving you a hard answer on that. We have a question regarding the equity requirement for the loan program, in addition to a question regarding what type of assets are funded using ATVM funds. The ATVM program offers us the ability to fund up to 80% of eligible costs using DOE funds, which would mean a 20% cost share of the eligible costs, as well as the rest of ineligible costs and operating funds for the applicant company. While this is the minimum, we typically look to have a capital structure that is more appropriate for the stage of business that the applicant is in, which could vary depending on that feature. An early stage startup, for example, may have a bit more of a challenge in shouldering a senior secured lending instrument and might require additional equity. Again, it really depends on the status of the applicant themselves. In terms of the collateral provided, we are not a research and development funding program. All of the activities that are funded under the ATVM loan program have to be related to the commercialization and manufacture of a vehicle here in the United States or a related component here in the United States. Obviously, hard asset collateral is easier for us to quantify the value of. Typically, the engineering integration costs, as we call them, to prepare a product for commercialization don't typically generate a significant amount of value in terms of repayment of a loan. So again, we do fund engineering integration soft costs. However, hard asset collateral is obviously very important in securing a loan through the DOE.
I'm going to walk through a few of the questions having to do with process and information available, et cetera. A couple of the questions include requesting information about our existing borrowers. We have another question as to what website the information on the program can be viewed, where it can be viewed. I can answer both of those questions by pointing you to loanprograms.energy.gov. And there you will see all of the loan programs, including the Title 17 programs, but very specifically, there's an ATVM menu as well. And you can find out all the information that is publicly available about the recipients of our ATVM loans to date. With regards to other applicants to the program, that unfortunately is business proprietary confidential information that we will not be able to share with folks outside of the department. And I thank you for your understanding.
We have another question concerning fueling components and equipment used to fuel a vehicle. If I can be so bold as to interpret that question to refer to infrastructure for refueling advanced technology vehicles, such as charging stations or natural gas pumps. Unfortunately, this program cannot fund infrastructure projects at this time, and we are focused primarily, as I said, on advanced technology vehicles and related components. A point of clarification, ATVM, in answer to one of the questions listed here, ATVM is only open currently to light-duty vehicles, and therefore light-duty passenger vehicles and or light-duty commercial type or cargo vehicles, as long as they fall within the parameters as listed in the interim final rule, which is available on our website as well. Those would be acceptable and eligible for the program. This does unfortunately rule out any medium or heavy-duty vehicles. We understand the impact that those types of vehicles have on fuel efficiency of the U.S. fleet. Unfortunately, at this time, we are unable to fund those types of projects. There is a question regarding the retention of intellectual property rights on technologies developed under the ATVM program. That's a very good question, and one that the program has worked on with all of our applicants. Typically, the DOE, in its negotiation of the loan terms, will look at intellectual property rights as a potential piece of collateral. However, it is really dependent on the individual application and the type of intellectual property that we're talking about with regard to a specific project. And so those types of intellectual property rights are typically negotiated points in the application and negotiation process. We have another question with regard to differentiation between research and development versus engineering or technology integration for the production of a vehicle. When we work with companies on the engineering integration costs related to the manufacture of the vehicle, what we're talking about is a technology that is more or less fully formed and requires some additional engineering in order to ready it for commercialization. R&D in terms of our analyses would really be more of looking at a product or a technology that's not quite ready for commercialization. Maybe it has a very long lead time in order to prepare it for manufacture. We're really looking at the technology R&D versus engineering integration as a really just what needs to happen to prepare for commercialization and manufacture. Again, I think as we work with individual applicants, we're better able to answer the question of their specific situation with regard to what constitutes research and development versus what constitutes, for example, an engineering soft cost to prepare for manufacture. We have a question with regard to shared assets which are used for both an eligible product as well as an ineligible product, or rather, for example, in a vehicle assembly line, a line that might be used both for non-ATV as well as ATV vehicles. To that extent, we rely in significant portion on the market analysis and the anticipated sale of the advanced technology vehicle vis-a-vis the costs associated with the project. In those types of scenarios, we would work with the applicant to develop a view on a proportional type of funding, where the DOE might fund a certain proportion that it believes is a reasonable market assessment of the ability of the advanced technology vehicle product to be accepted into the marketplace. This is something we've done with past applicants, and again is a negotiated point which is typically discussed with applicants as they occur. We have a question with regard to reapplication for applicants who had previously submitted an application to the program. We are indeed open to resubmitting the resubmittal of new applications through the portal. We would certainly expect that a lot has changed since the beginning of the program in 2008 or 2009 with regard to both ATVM as well as the business plans associated with the projects that were applied for. We're more than willing to entertain a new application from a former applicant.
Are there any more questions? All right, this concludes the webinar. I do want to remind you that updated guidance on how to craft a strong application will be posted on the website next week. The website again is http://lpo.energy.gov, and we will post the webinar slides online today. And again, if you have additional questions that you think about, please send them to atvmloan@hq.doe.gov. Thank you again for attending, and have a great week.